What's up, guys? How's it going? Just wanted to jump on the live stream and talk a little bit. We could do some tarot should the occasion arise. You guys already know what it is. I just wrote some things down. I had a couple things coming to my mind as far as like topics for conversation. Let me pull this up a little bit closer so I can relax. I labeled this channel Love Metaphysics because I just want to share something that I've been using a lot myself lately through this journey of life and, kind of being on my own here in LA. And this is a large part of my life philosophy here, beyond tarot. And so for me, I think that, everything boils down to, input, output. When it comes to the mind, our belief systems, our systems for feeling, thought. And I think that we unconsciously exist based off of the stories that we tell ourselves. And I'm going to let you know of a quick practical application. I'll give you two different scenarios. One will be a more immediate present scenario, and another will be a more kind of personal regressed scenario, meaning in the privacy of your thoughts and your thinking. The most kind of immediate present example for me, and just so you know where we're headed, this is essentially going to be speaking about what one would call mantra. For me, I call it an anchor word. For me, or like a catch-all. I think that the human condition, the human mind, at least this human mind, and so I can only speak from my experience. Feel free to cherry pick whatever works for you. I think that we require a catch-all, both in the kind of immediacy present interface as well as the subconscious or personal kind of with yourself and with your thought experience, with your thoughts in that personal secluded experience. And so the immediacy moment, let's have an example of if you've ever been triggered or fear-stricken. So my concept that I'm trying to share with you that you could use as a tool is, again, if you have, like, say, if you're overcome with feelings of fear and you feel it and it's palpable, or if you're frightened or if you're scared, you can then refer back to your mantra or your anchor word, and you could say the word love. For me, the word is love because it's a catch-all. It's a universal word. You could say God, whatever makes you feel comforted. And I think that's essentially what the mechanism is doing. And something that I could note as an example is, storytelling. Around the campfire and just through humanity since the dawn of communication, we're essentially kind of telling each other stories, telling ghost stories around the campfire, whether it's, with your favorite podcast that you're listening to, that informs your belief system. And to me now, my belief extends as extremely and controversially as to with sickness, illness, disease, new illnesses, old illnesses, viral, birth, what have you. I do feel as though that there's no limit to the human mind and capacity. And we definitely don't know any bounds either. And so, one second, I'm getting a call here. So I'm going to do this tarot reading, get back to what I'm talking about here. Let's see if this even wants to take this call here, this incoming call that's coming in. Yeah, feel free to be a fly on the wall. I'm just taking tarot calls as I can. Of course, when I get to talking really good about something, someone wants to call. Let's see if it'll even process though. Point being is that the kind of first example that I wanted to share with you is kind of being fear-stricken. And if you are kind of feeling overcome with overwhelm or triggered, you can refer to your anchor word, love. Say you're like out in the street playing basketball or walking down the street and like you're frightened, you can refer to your love mantra, and it's a way to kind of get a handle on the situation, as it were. I just got a tarot call, so I'm going to be doing this. Hopefully I can talk a little bit on the side too. So that's the kind of present, physical experience. Now, there's oftentimes where we're alone with our thoughts. And in which case, say you have a fearful thought, just in your lonesome, in the safety of your home, you can also then condition yourself, train yourself to think of love when that fearful thought comes in. 1 second. This person is asking about their fiance, their ex-fiance. We can talk a little bit about quantum possibility as well in regards to tarot and how I believe there's 78 cards in a tarot deck. And how they say mathematically, quantumly speaking, you can shuffle the deck in perpetuity and you'll never get the same sequence. More sequences than atoms in the universe is what I've heard. I'm trying to understand our connection and what's in store for us moving forward. I'm looking for insight into an ex-fiance. Ex-fiance. I'm trying to understand our connection. How did this fiance become an ex in the first place? What's there? Okay, so I'm going to ask him that, and then I'm going to ask the cards, what's his connection with his ex-fiance? What's his connection with his ex-fiance? And so it's a matter of belief that I'm putting into these cards. These cards are going to point me in the direction based off of quantum potential and possibility. And so the external quantum potential and possibility is going to interface with my internal quantum potential and possibility, essentially. Both kind of random magic machines, as it were, the external and the internal interfacing. Now, the personal ego gets in between them and, wants us to believe that, we are us, the small self. So again, let me focus here. So I think that there's a lot of power in focus, of course. Focused attention. I'm trying to understand our connection and what's in store for us moving forward. Defensive towards the physical. It's the collar. There's time. This person thinks that their ex is going to come back. Ultimately, It's always funny when I do a reading for somebody and they say, well, other psychics said this. And I'm like, well, but still you chose this one. Why? I'm reading for the website that I read for, Expert Link. Go check out extension 4675 on Expert Link. It's called Psychic Source. Psychic Source. My name is Dylan on there. You can feel free to reach out for a reading if you want a more professional format. So yeah, I do chat messenger readings there, phone call readings. So anyways, so this person was in denial about his fiance leaving him and what have you, and felt the need to call at this time. Best of luck to all callers, of course. I'm just trying to illuminate this person as to the fact. And so we're speaking a lot here. Let me just make sure all my hashtags are here because it's what's the word? Okay, so I don't see many people in the room here. So yeah, I mean, so the kind of first scenario interface is when you're out and about, walking down the street, say you see something that occurs. Now, obviously, you can let the fear roll through you, and you could have your, panic attack or what have you. But you can also get a grip on that, and it's the same thing as self-talk. Telling yourself, I'm confident, I'm secure, I'm happy, I'm whole, I'm complete. But mine is just a little more of a short blip. It's just saying the word love to yourself in your mind. That's the actual action step, is thinking the word love. And we could get into the fact that, all thoughts are vibrations and have a frequency signature. And so basically what I'm saying is that there's going to be an input of fear or fear-inducing, causing, or let's just say in the realm of possibility of life. And then you, as the kind of receiver of that, are going to say love to that very thing and keep on doing it until you need no longer do that. Now, similarly, it's the same thing with personalized thoughts and moments of when you're thinking and feeling, or maybe you're just, it could be when you're at home sitting watching a podcast or watching a movie, or if you're very kind of sensitive and prone to taking external output and internalizing it, you're going to want to start to condition. You're going to want to start to condition how you feel about things, and that includes your health. That includes how you feel about certain illnesses and diseases. And I think that this method is applicable as well to those moments as well. So for instance, if you hear someone speaking, because remember, at the end of the day, the premise is we're all telling each other ghost stories. I mean, even when you're watching your favorite podcast. And if you see someone, talk about cancer, or if you see someone talk about COVID, in my mind, I whisper the word love so as to give that love vibration and element to those kind of deities, essentially. It's almost as if those thoughts are ever pervasive, and they become these kind of big monoliths that people are capable of creating in their mind, in which case I give to them that thought of love. And it diffuses and offsets and defeats that. I know it sounds super fucked up and crazy, but to me, I believe that there's something potent to that. Because what you're telling yourself is that there's this catch-all universal entity that can defeat or conquer anything else, you know, be it those kind of scary C words, coincidentally. And again, now modern society, the modern narrative, the modern mind, you know, the scientific centric mind is going to be like, oh, that's phony. You're insane. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're stupid. You shouldn't be telling people that. But if you kind of look at the science behind it, we know that, say, if we allow these fear-inducing thoughts of diseases, or because essentially you have to purchase a disease, I would think, in this modern day age, and even historically, because we weren't there, we didn't live back then. So, you know, everything is kind of rumored thought until it's kind of experienced personally. Now, I would say that even in the moment of, if there's crises, you know, trauma, whatever, you can still use this method, a way of thinking about your current situation. And so all I'm saying is that one step removed in a kind of more personal space, which is your own thought and your own thinking and your own belief system, you can apply this kind of anchor word or this mantra word. You know, for me, it's love, and any other given situation, it could be confidence, it could be health, it could be longevity. It's, you know, it's, for me and other personal examples, I tell myself I'm going to live a long, happy, healthy life. You know, so there's these through lines, these narratives that hopefully you have as well. That's very kind of life and self-affirming. Another focal point that I like to use is on my heart space. I literally put my attention to my heart space, where I repeat the word heart. And so I try to condition my mind and my attention to focus on my heart. You can also do that with sexual energy. Anytime you're feeling sexual energy, you can discipline and train yourself to reroute that to your heart space. That's what that no fap November is, no nut November, pardon the language. You're essentially harnessing sexual energy, and you are conditioning yourself outside of a fight or flight, fuck, reproduce, again, pardon my language, frame of mind, and you're raising it to something higher. And with men in particular, and probably with women, you're altering your chemistry as well, more positively. So instead of conditioning yourself to have a sexual release every day, which is going to require some sort of resource, energetically, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, you know, these are resources that it's possible in this modern age. I know for me, I almost conditioned myself every single night. You know, if you're watching porn, or if you're doing this, or if you're doing that, or with your partner. And so just something to keep in mind, harnessing that sexual energy. I feel as though that nowadays it's understood as modern bro science, but I feel as though that there is this, you know, hill that we're all trying to overcome. We're all trying to get that, like, cutting edge, pardon the pun. And I feel like we are not taught the knowledge of harnessing that sexual energy. Or if we are told about it, we're told about it in such a way that it's about manhood and inner discipline. And, you know, no, it doesn't have to be that about all of that bravado. It could be more so just about, it's like, why are you it's like throwing money away. It's like, look at that energy as a resource. You could harness it. You could lift it up to your heart chakra. If you consider that most people in the world are running off of ego and fear, they're running off of the lower registers of their survival mechanism from the waist down, from the heart down, as opposed to if you are kind of self-regulating, you're existing from the waist up, or excuse me, from the heart up, essentially. And that's not to say that you're neglecting sex or you're not trying to have a healthier relationship with it. But you're just becoming more kind of self-aware, if you know if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, I firmly kind of believe that. Now, what else can we talk about here? Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. So, in the personalized instance, I think the point is that you're wanting to condition yourself to feel confident enough so that you eventually don't have to repeat the word love. You don't have to refer to your anchor word. Ultimately, that's going to help you be more present and be more in the flow and be more able to read the code of reality, which is just kind of focal point awareness, presence, things like that. If you get nervous or antsy around crowded, groups of people, social events, speaking events, using an anchor word or a mantra as well can also help redirect your focus positively, whether it's in your heart space, whether it's in your throat space, whether it's just in the word confidence. All of that stuff is speaking to yourself, your unconscious as well as your self consciousness. But surely it's signaling these kind of unconscious, subconscious mechanisms to move into play. Because it's almost as if you are kind of grounding that, electrical, movement, um, into this mantra word, this anchor word. It's anchoring this energy. It's harnessing this energy. So in a moment of chaos, you're not like struck into one of those fight or flight mechanisms. It's almost like a frequency. Like if this is a baseline, when you're in a fight or flight mechanism, it means this kind of point of focus or control awareness falls under this baseline. Whereas if you're presented with that point of being able to fall under the baseline and you self-regulate in that moment and say love, 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 then instead of going down, you're going up until you condition yourself and give yourself enough practice in that moment of truth to go hands-free or without a net, aka without an anchor word, without a mantra. So if I'm, in this unfamiliar territory and say here's like this moment that's going to trigger me, and this is the baseline, and this is the moving signal. Again, previously, if left to my own devices, I'm triggered, so I'm under the baseline, and now I'm in just panic mode. Whereas in this moment of triggering, I do a mantra, now I'm going over and above it, and now I'm in control because I'm self-regulating all this extra energy, which is stored up, and a lot of it's coming through our mind. Most of it, I think there's some crazy stat that like 90% of our energy is like burned through the mind. Some out there stat. Don't quote me on that. So hence, and if you kind of consider everything from politics, from the election season and all that, all of it is just ghost stories. All of it is just stories around the campfire at the end of the day. I mean, we like to overcomplicate things, but anytime you're hearing someone talk, you're telling a story. And so my thing is that you can kind of self-register and self-condition yourself the proper output coming from you through self-regulation with this mantra or this anchor word at any given situation. So as to teach yourself and train yourself how to feel, like you could tell yourself, I'm immune to getting cancer. I don't believe in COVID. I don't believe in cancer. I don't believe in fear. I don't believe in evil. I don't believe, you could really get out there. There's no limitation to your thinking, as we all know. It's just not in modern day life accepted and talked about, because I think we're working from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. And so I think in our kind of journey of evolution, we have to start to familiarize ourselves with working from the inside out. So yeah, I mean, we're talking about like how politics, like at the end of the day, if you're a wise man or woman, you're going to see from a higher level that it's all wrestling. It's all like fake wrestling. You know what I'm saying? At least with wrestling, back in the day, I grew up watching like WCW, WWF, whatever. At least with that, we know it's fake. It's people pulling the puppet strings or whatever. We can enjoy it. But with politics, we treat it as almost as if it's real, as if there's not some sort of schism or scheme or tilted table. And yet historically, everything has always been kind of tilted and skilted. Let me coin a new word there, skilted. So, it's a scheme to tilt. Skilted. alongside with like censorship. You can't say openly all these things that I'm trying to communicate to you on YouTube, especially about these new diseases. Don't want to say the P word, but rhymes with endemic, and don't want to say the C word, but it rhymes with uh, COVID. You know what I'm saying? So all of that stuff, if you go on YouTube and try to openly say something out loud about how you really feel using plain, candid terms, it will censor you. You know what I'm saying? Or at least that's the sentiment that I have. Another sentiment is with the, rhymes with vaccination, starts with a V. In Los Angeles, I could report the feeling of not knowing what I can do, not knowing where I could go, and who requires, that someone have some sort of immunization in the form of that V word. LA Fitness, to my acknowledgement, to my understanding, still requires you to have your paperwork indicating that you've received shots. And to me, it's like, you're going to tell me we live in a fair, free country, and that's the case. Like, I, as an adult, can't make this decision. Us, as an adult, we, as the people, can't make this decision. And so, to me, to quote the great Sam Tripoli, every conspiracy, all conspiracies lead to spirituality, because really, truly, it's a matter of what are the stories that you're telling yourself. And unfortunately, being social creatures is no longer serving us as it once did for survival purposes. Now, to be a social creature means to, how would you say, to be a social creature means to, be a sheep and to groupthink. And so all I'm trying to say is that let's do better than that, and let's really get into the nitty gritty. Me, myself, I'm able to, I live alone, and this has been an interesting experience. I've been living alone for the first time in my life for over a year now, and I've really been able to play with these kind of deep thoughts that I've always thought, even prior to being alone. And now I'm just kind of allowing myself to kind of think as crazy outside the box as humanly possible. So I encourage you guys to do the same. All right, guys, I got to do some deliveries because that's what pays the bills. You guys aren't supporting me lately, so sorry, I got to go. Maybe I'll jump on again. If you've watched this far, thank you. Love you. Holler at your boy. Peace.